Oh, are you videotaping? I see. It's a pretty day in paradise, but we've got to get to work.
Profit Improvement Plan is a 100-page manual that will help any company accomplish the objective of just about every company, and that is to survive and succeed. We're obviously in difficult economic times, and there are only two ways to do it, and this book will do that for you. Number one is increase income by improving sales. Number two is reduce expenses, typically manpower expenses. On the income and sales side, it's been used by many companies. And one example is we had them use a time study of the salespeople. And the reason is because time is money. They discovered that 80% of their time was administrative time behind the scenes preparing things, and only 20% out actually selling, as we say, trucks on the road. So by a virtue of doing this study, we figured out ways to reduce that administrative time and reversed it. So now they have trucks on the road 80% of the time out meeting with prospective customers and only 20% of the time back behind the scenes. Another example of how this manual can help you increase your sales is that you really should have a prospect report and a pipeline of prospects, because you need to have LOA on your side. That's the law of averages, LOA. So if each salesperson doesn't have, let's say, 20 or 30 prospects, then the result will be very few sales, because obviously you only get so many conversions from prospects to sales. So we have an excellent pipeline report to help salespeople generate prospects to therefore generate more sales and through that method. The other half of the problem is reducing manpower expenses. Typically, almost every company, the largest expense is manpower, meaning salary and benefits. The answer to that is, first of all, hiring the best people, so you have the most productive people, and then after you get them, helping them to be more productive. If, for example, you can get one employee to do a little bit more work, then you can pay for the cost of the entire turnkey human resource department. The same way with the sales program. If one salesperson makes one additional sale, which is very understated, in the course of a year, then you will pay for the entire turnkey manual, and so forth. The supervision book is a 100-page book that summarizes a lot of answers and solutions that supervisors frequently have in managing people. It is very useful as a reference tool when they encounter these problems, which we all have in supervising people. The Thompson Y theory, for example, is the higher you go, the more you're involved with people, the less you're involved with things. So the more people you have, the more problems you've had. Supervisors have come into my office over the years with the same initial question. I've got a problem. It involves a person. If I didn't have any people, I wouldn't have any problems. So the answers are in this book because it came from those practical experiences with the Boeing company, Schlumberger, 2 bank holding companies, and 300 clients. And supervisors have problems. It's just like being a parent raising your children. You're in a leadership position and you have to provide answers. I'll give an example of something that would be very useful in hiring people so you avoid a mishire. What you should do is give a copy of the job description or an outline of duties to the applicant. Ask them to take 10 minutes, rate themselves on a scale of, say, 1 to 10, in their experience and capability to do the duties of the job. They're not going to lie because you're going to keep that job description with their rating. The other thing is it will help to solve the problem that you have when you hire people. You're trying to match up the needs of the job with the capabilities of the individual. So we're asking to do that for us, and it will help you to avoid mishires. That's one example of many that you'll find in the book to help you avoid mishires. Then it gets to delegation. Everyone wants to delegate more, but we reserve ourselves to do the job because we can do it better. but there's a whole chapter and a section so that you can delegate to your employees, thus giving you more time, because every supervisor has told me they don't have enough time to do their job. And I could give you many more examples, but it's literally a reference tool for supervising people. Actually, as we all know, the last thing you want to do is say, you're fired. However, it's unfair to all the other employees if you tolerate poor performers and literally have a double standard, expecting your good ones to perform at a high level and yet tolerating someone else. So as a supervisor, you very likely are going to be in the situation of saying, you're fired. The Turnkey Human Resource Department is a 300 compilation of 4 manuals, which is all part of the Manager Success Toolbox. The first section is the Employee Handbook. Every company needs to have one to at least outline the responsibilities of the employees, meaning the rules, and secondly, your responsibilities and the opportunities you provide for them working there. So that's the way we put together an employee handbook. There's far more policies and ideas in there than you'll need, but you can easily edit them and tailor them to fit the needs of your company. So their employee handbook is essentially done for you. The second one is the Manager's Human Resource Manual. And this is aimed at those supervisors and managers who are on a daily basis, obviously, supervising people. It starts with employment techniques, how to hire, questions you can ask that are okay, but there are probably 30, 40 listed questions you cannot ask because they're illegal. You don't need to ask someone if they're divorced. You don't need to ask the age of their children. All these are protected class people, people over 40, Spanish surnames, females, and so forth. So you have to be very careful in interviews, and this gets into that for you to help you avoid naively making a mistake. Salary administration, setting up job grades and salary ranges. We figured out a way to include in this the way that you can do that in any state in the country. So you can do your surveys and find out what the competition is making so you can pay your people fairly and equitably. Performance appraisals. We believe strongly in managing by objectives. Everyone comes to work every day in the United States of America and they only have one question. What do you want me to do? Don't micromanage me. Don't tell me how to do it. If I need you, I'll call you. But what we set up in writing, because verbal doesn't get it, is a Managed by Objectives program with each and every employee. We do it 2 ways. One is the exempt salary people, and one is the non-exempt, those on the time clock. Entirely different jobs. So these designed programs are set up to answer that big question. What do you want me to do? You can hold them accountable, and the results and the profitability and the productivity of your company will rise just amazingly, simply because of that one tool. Now, the next part of the whole thing is the Legal Compendium Manual. There are over 30 federal laws that essentially most companies have to comply with. Now, if you have 50 employees, you must comply with the Family and Medical Leave Act, and you must guarantee their job when they return to work and so forth. And then there's the Americans Disability Act. If you have 15 employees, you must comply with that. And it goes on and on and on. We have summaries of all those 30 laws and a method for you to obtain your state human resource laws so that you can be in compliance and avoid very possible large legal expenses to defend you or embarrassment in the community and time. It takes a lot of time to defend yourself from either applicants or employees. So this summarizes and helps to solve that problem. The last manual is the Human Resource Director's Manual. That's why we can make the claim, all these things combined, that this is a turnkey human resource department, everything but benefits and payroll. In the HR Director's Manual, it's behind-the-scenes things that they do, how to run ads, how to do manpower planning, and on, record keeping. There's a whole page of 40 or more items that you must retain, sometimes a year, some 3 years, whatever, and that answers that frequently asked question. But these are human resource directors' forms and programs for their use to help make sure that HR department is running smoothly. So you have all the programs here, and off you go. You have the Employee Handbook, you have the Manager's Human Resource Manual, you have the Compendium of Legal Requirements, and then you have the HR Director's Manual, all part of the overall program, which includes the Supervision Book and the book on profitability, how to increase income and reduce expenses. It's all part of the Manager Success Toolbox. Order now, and if you get one idea out of these 500 pages, it'll more than pay for whatever you're paying here for this program and all these programs combined. Also, you can use it for years to come because there are techniques in here to update your legal things. So this is a long-term project that you can have setting up your own HR department, managing your people, and making your company more successful. Some of the feedback I get from people who use the book in managing employees are, number one, they say instead of buying different books or going to different seminars, they can use it as a reference tool for a whole variety of things which are common needs for supervisors, such as hiring and interviewing people, motivating a poor performer, time management, meaning their own. These type of things are all there in that one book for reference. Another thing that has happened that people tell me about the book is, for example, the bell curve is described in there. And maybe they hadn't thought about it before until they read the book. But its studies have proven that employees perform on the basis of 10% of employees are outstanding. They're the ones that you shrug and say, oh no, he or she is leaving. They're your outstanding people, 10% typically. 80% are good, solid employees, and you're glad to have them. Of course, they're doing a good job. But then there's the bottom 10%. And they either need to be improved, and we can do that through this book and some of the other tools we have here, to do the best we can to get them to be a good performer. If not, then it's time for them to go somewhere else. Possibly transfer if you're a large company, but if not, you need to do something about those bottom 10% because it literally is the bad apple in the barrel. It brings the other employees down in their performance and their morale and their attitudes when a very poor performer is tolerated. So we urge you in the book and through other means to do everything you can. There are only two reasons why someone does not do a good job. Number one, they can't do it because they were a mishire and they're a square peg in a round hole. Number two, they can do the job, but they won't do it because of some type of conflict or problem. So as a supervisor, regardless of the reason, you've got to figure it out and get them improved or out. That's one way that you can use this book and improve your department and your company. If you want to accomplish the main objective of most companies, and that is improve your profits by reducing expenses and increasing income, then you ought to push on the button that says buy here, and you will accomplish these and many other objectives.